solutions to money, relationships, wellness, and more. Shine a light onto your day and into your life. Power Your Life with Dr. Joanne White.
Welcome to Power Your Life. I'm Joanne White, your host, and my first guest is the fast-talking, straight-shooting lawyer from Owens Network, Staten Island lawyer. Elura Nanos is one of the founders of Lawyer Up and is with us today to talk about what you need to know about prenups. Welcome.
Thanks, Joanne.
So let's get right into it, because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about what a prenuptial agreement is. And I've heard from some of my own clients that they're very concerned that a prenup is actually going to be a romance breaker, really disturbing the beauty of the love that they have.
There's nothing like consulting your lawyer to just ruin the wedding planning.
Right. So how do you respond to somebody like that?
Well, I think that the first important thing is for people to understand that prenuptial agreements are not always the way they seem in the movies. There's not only one type of prenup. It doesn't always mean that one person is being asked to give up all of their legal rights and all of the money. It by no means means that. A prenuptial agreement is simply a contract. It can say whatever you wish it to say. So, I mean, it can talk about financially what would happen in the event of divorce, but it can talk about really a wide range of things, for everything from who gets what to simply how we're going to value something that we already own. There's just a lot of variation of what can go in that prenup.
So what's important also is that when people are entering into a marriage contract, it's a contract.
Absolutely.
And there are financial aspects to a contract as well as legal aspects.
And in today's world, we see people getting married later and later. We see people going into marriage already owning assets, already having a lot of debt. And with the advent of gay marriage, that's happening even more, because you have many people who have been in relationships for years but maintain separate financial existences. So now, as things get more complex, the need for a contract before marriage really has gotten heightened over the recent years.
Right. And also, there are children from former marriages, so people are getting married again and after divorce. So it's not just for the rich. I mean, again, that's one of the misconceptions, that the only people that need to do the prenup are people with wealth. So,
I mean, there are many different circumstances where a prenuptial agreement might be appropriate, and basically there are two important pieces to understanding whether a person needs a prenuptial agreement. The first is understanding what you own. Because if you don't own anything and you don't have any debt, then having a prenup is not really all that necessary. But if you go into a marriage and one of you has debt or one of you has assets, then it is really important to think about what would happen in the event of a divorce. The other piece of this is, I think it's important that people, when they're at the precipice of getting married, that they actually understand what they're doing. Most people are completely clueless about what would happen to their assets in the event of a divorce. For example, many people think, they have this misconception that if one spouse cheats on the other one, then the cheater somehow gets financially penalized in the event of divorce, when in fact it's totally irrelevant. So I think that just understanding what would happen, many people think that if the husband's name is on the title to the boat and the wife's name is on the title to the car, then that means he gets the boat and she gets the car. It doesn't mean that at all.
So when people are signing a prenup and they're working through they should firstly work with separate lawyers, is that correct?
Well, they absolutely would have to work with separate lawyers, because each person needs to make sure that they have someone who is representing their interests. Now, often what happens is one of the parties is sophisticated enough and confident enough to simply read the prenuptial agreement and agree on their own without an attorney. That's not something I would really ever advise. I mean, for anyone, you should never sign a contract unless you understand it.
Right. So how does a contract protect somebody that doesn't have money in going into a marriage?
Someone who does not have money may want to agree on how the couple would proceed with a financial arrangement in the event of divorce when the time came. So, for example, maybe they don't own anything at that moment, but maybe they can agree, look, if we ever got divorced, here's the way I think we would go about splitting things up. I mean, even if it's splitting up personal property, well, you know, a couple might say, we have a house now, we own it 50-50. If we ever got divorced, I would want to make sure that each of us got the right of first refusal to buy the house.
So it's not a romance breaker, but it's important to talk about the prenup early on and not right when you're getting ready to go march
not
down
like
the
at the
altar.
rehearsal dinner. Like, that's not a good time for the prenup. But I would say that, it doesn't have to be unromantic, because as long as what it says in the prenup is something that both people are comfortable and happy to say, it actually can be a real relationship strengthener. Because I've had clients say, well, I would, maybe they come into a relationship and the husband already owns a house, and the wife says, well, I would never go after that house.
Right.
I understand it's his.
Right.
Well, if you feel that way, why not write it down?
Elura, you have a book.
I do have a book.
Tell us a little bit about that book.
So my book, How to Talk to Your Lawyer, my best friend and I wrote this book together. And it's really a handbook for clients to be good clients. And it's really there for someone to understand everything from how do you know when it's time to hire a lawyer, and how do you go about getting one, because taking a name off the side of a bus is not a great way.
Right.
Although
people do.
People do. How do you manage that relationship? How do you make sure that your money is used and the right way and goes the farthest? And then in the event you do have a problem, how do you fire an attorney? How do you get them in trouble if you don't like them? So it's kind of the whole relationship from beginning to end.
Which I think is very important for people to know, because sometimes they don't know when to hire somebody and what to do in the whole process.
I've had that conversation many times with people. So this book is kind of my way of saying I'd love to just tell each person this little bit of information so that you're empowered to go forth and have a good relationship with your lawyer. So here you go. Read the book. It's an easy read, and it'll help you in the event it's time for you to hire someone.
So get the book, and don't be squeamish about getting a prenup, because more and more people are doing it, and it's important.
Absolutely.
And it's a way of protecting.
It's a way of protecting everyone.
Right, and it doesn't have to break your marriage. It can actually, as you say, it can actually strengthen it.
Absolutely, and it can save an awful lot of money in the future in the event that you do find yourself in the unlucky position of having to get divorced.
Thanks so much, Elura.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Coming up, we just told you what you need to know before you get married and before you get a divorce. What do you need to know about being single again? Ahead, we're going to introduce you to the founder of spiritualsingles.com with answers for those questions that you're searching for, and for answers for you when you're looking for love again.